blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity. Good morning, self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, and our beautiful Trish is send her light. She's out under the weather today, but she's doing okay. And so just send her light. And we have an amazing show today. But I really want to say, just in case you're new to us, thank you for being here. We love this opportunity to give and serve loving essence through our show every week. It's such an honor and a joy to be doing this show now for almost 4 years. We're approaching our 4-year anniversary. Woohoo! And so happy 2024. We're really excited to be in this new energy, new year. It's January, and what a blessing. And in case you're new to us and you don't know about all the other places to find us, if you are catching us live on Facebook, that's wonderful. But we also have YouTube and all the other platforms. So please go explore. We're pretty much everywhere, podcast and YouTube. And please do us a favor and like, share, subscribe. Send it to your loved ones and have them subscribe, because the more people that know about this gets the message of self-love across. And, you know, it's a wide umbrella, and it comes in all different shapes and sizes and ways to serve people. And how better to deepen and strengthen our own relationship with the inner self, which is the bigger S, the higher self, right? The one we're having a deep relationship with, God, source, spirit, light, whatever you want to call it. That is most important, right? That's our strongest, most important relationship. And then it mirrors out into the world and reflects out into the world and helps us have better, deeper, stronger, loving relationships with all our loved ones. And who doesn't want that magic in their life, right? We all want strengthened relationships in every way. And so that's my mission and purpose, is to give that gift on this show and to spread that light and love. And so we have an amazing guest today. I'm going to read the topic and Alanna's beautiful message here. So, the power of choice and accessing our heart's intuition with Alanna Levenson. Life is a journey. We have a choice in any given moment. Alanna Levenson will share with us a powerful mindset as a jumping point, a philosophy for forgiveness, and the 4 potential outcomes of every choice we make. She will also share 3 questions you can use to check in with yourself before taking the next step forward. Alanna will also walk us through a deceivingly easy HeartMath technique to access your heart's intuition when out-of-the-box solutions or important decisions are needed. Alanna also has had an untraditional career path that includes tech sales, startups, acting and entertainment corporate, nonprofits, and CX, and embraced her life purpose in professional coaching starting in 2005. As a lifelong learner, she is an ICF PCC Credentialed Coach, which grounded experience in life coaching, professional coaching, team coaching, leadership development, and small business coaching. With I Love My Life coaching and consulting, she's worked with 230 plus individual clients, as old as 16 and as young as 80, and has facilitated mastermind groups and worked with small business owners and entrepreneurs. During her time at Cisco, she facilitated over 200 workshops encompassing custom team coaching, the power of teams, and virtual health checks with teams across all organizations. Wow, powerful stuff, right? She has achieved multiple coaching certifications from HeartMath Institute, ORCS, CRR Global, GTCI, TMBC, and IPEC. She also has a HR management certificate from Cornell University, ILR, and a PCC credential from ICF International. And when she isn't working and makes it a priority to step away from her computer, good job being in balance, she enjoys getting her hands dirty, learning about permaculture, traveling, listening to audiobooks, cooking, yoga, hiking, and spending time with friends and family and staying up to date on world events. Wow, so well-rounded in your profession. And I'm just so proud to introduce you, Alanna, and your body of work.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us more about this. Just what's this whole thing about decision making? I'm so curious and would love to know what led you to have this inquiry today on the show, and give me some insight, give us some scoop and some insight into decision making, because I know life is challenging and brings us really complicated, challenging situations sometimes to make. Sometimes it's a really challenging situation, and sometimes it's a graceful, easy one. So tell us more about this.
Yeah. Uh, when I was thinking about what I thought might provide really good value, and I also wanted to very much relate it to your theme of your show in terms of self-love. So when I think about decision making, which is one of the most challenging things that we sometimes face, especially because, like you said, we have so much coming at us, especially more now than ever, let alone the challenges that we have in our own unique lives. When we can make clear, effective, mature, heart-centered decisions that we think about that are really intentional. People that know me sometimes tease me about how intentional I am in my own life, and being intentional is something I really encourage in my coaching as well. When we can make decisions from that place, it is an act of self-love.
Absolutely.
It's right. It's honoring yourself and honoring, where you've been, celebrating that, healing things that have been challenging, and being really present to where you are, and, thinking ahead and looking forward with purpose and intent.
Beautiful. Gosh, we call this in my language, in my coaching practice, I call it making self honoring choices. So
Yes.
when you're faced with something that's very challenging, it's about that intention you bring to it and really like leaning back into self honoring so that you can bring forward the highest and best choice for yourself in that moment and be guided by your higher self to make that highest and best choice.
I love that. I actually use very similar, I call it honoring yourself as well. So I love that we have that commonality.
Yeah, beautiful language. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, I'm sure you've had some very difficult choices to make in your own life navigating. So tell us a little bit about decision making and how you've come about to this masterful craft of decision making and helping bring value in this way.
Yeah. It relates to every aspect of our lives. It relates to relationships,
Hmm.
whether it's family relationships, definitely friendships that do or no longer work for you, romantic relationships, recognizing how to honor yourself by sending someone off with love, by acknowledging this doesn't work for us. This is not a good match.
Hmm.
Uh, Career, jobs. I have in my career working for other companies, I have been laid off 7 times, not fired. There's a difference, right? But laid off because I also worked for like you mentioned in my bio, a number of startups, as well as sometimes companies that got acquired. And so I would have to, dust myself off and pick myself up, and very quickly ask myself, like, what do I want for myself going forward in my career? What's the most logical next step for me? And to be really intentional about that, because I think what a lot of people do in their careers is they just look for where they've already been, and then they don't realize that they either get bored and then they feel unchallenged, or they're not being intentional about how they want to grow, how they want to learn, and be really intentional about that next step, that next job that I take, and how that can support me in that growth and development, whether it's personal or professional. And then definitely in the work that I've done as an entrepreneur myself and working with other entrepreneurs, there's lots of decision making that has to take place
Yeah.
in terms of building your business, working with money, our relationship with money, uh, hiring people, letting people go,
Hmm.
training them. What kind of client do you want to work with? Who's your audience? Who do you serve? How do you best serve them? And then sales conversations. I'm not so much an expert in marketing. I know enough to be dangerous and to help myself. And then I hire other people to help me in that realm. That being said, I do consider myself an expert in sales because I was also in tech and corporate sales for 16 years. So, there's a lot of decisions that have to go with that too. So, when we
So
think,
much.
yeah, so much. So when we think about all those things, and then there's the personal layer, the personal element to that, going back to the honoring, what being clear about from the place of the heart. And I wasn't always this way. And I still sometimes, jump back here, but it's do it from that place and to be in alignment with it.
Mhm. It's beautiful that you're bringing this forward. Like being in the heart when you're making a decision is really important, because if you're really thinking just with the mind, that you could leave out like an important piece, because your mind is really a place of, and I like this, I say this with most compassion, but there's the physical world reality, there's the mind, there's the emotions. This is all the land of like where the ego exists. And when you tap back into your heart, this is where, you know, you're allowing your higher self to come fully in, and your heart to be open and attuned to your higher self, your inner counselor. And like that is the place, like if you can move from there and make choices from there, it's going to ultimately, I find that this is my own spiritual learning in my
Yeah.
difficult choice making decisions. I find that really supports every person involved. So
Yes.
no one's left out, because when you make a self-honoring choice, you're honoring yourself and you're honoring all parties involved. So spirit's not going to leave anyone out. Like it's like it works for the highest and best good for all parties involved. And that's what we're going for, is like making, we want to create win-win-wins in our environments and our choices and in our life circumstances and our families, right across the board, win-win-win, right? And so I feel that making self-honoring choices when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult, can help cultivate this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's that ripple effect, right? And I mean, we don't live on this planet alone, and
No.
we're constantly bumping up against other people, right? And then there's our family, our friends, our work community, and then other communities that you are a part of. And what this also makes me think about is a topic that's often talked about in the realm of coaching, or just even in the workplace, is that work-life balance, which
Mhm.
really it's not an equal balance. It's more of an integration, and where we sometimes need to pull from one area to give to another, and then things start to shift.
Mhm.
And then, what did you call it? Your inner counselor? I love that. It's, that's that inner coherent state that I learned about from getting certified via HeartMath. And
Beautiful.
who knew that our heart actually sends more information to our brain than from our brain to our heart. For years I've been a geek about brain science, and now I'm really geeking out about heart science and the electromagnetic energy that we put out via our heart. They can actually measure it up to 3 feet, even though they know that it expands beyond that. And in terms of our thought processes, which yes, are absolutely powerful, they actually only measure that an inch from our
Wow.
heart. So what does that tell you about the place of where we exude or send out? Because really it's about frequency, the frequency, right? By which we think, feel, emote, and then how does that impact our environment and then others, which could also include pets, by the way. Those of you that have pets out there, have you ever noticed how sensitive our pets can be to our emotions?
Mhm.
They're feeling it too. So, whether we're conscious about it or not, that's what's happening in any given moment. And there's even new studies that are coming out where it's not just someone that's physically or physiologically in proximity close to us. We can actually affect things hundreds of thousands of miles away.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why when you send light, you send it in a prayer, you just focus intentionally. It makes a major impact on like you're blessing that person's life, you're blessing that area of the earth or wherever you're sending it. It absolutely makes an impact.
Yeah. And then coming back to that self, that inner counselor, as you called it, it's being in a coherent state and being able to practice thought, decision making, being heart centered. The word that I learned from HeartMath is coherence. Well, what does that really mean? That implies harmony, which also is inner harmony, harmony with others, harmony with your environment, connectedness, stability, and really an efficient use of our energy. And that's, because people can get, myself included, sometimes I'm human too, right? Like we can get caught up in the chaos of everything, and then our energy can get thrown off. And then that very much affects how we show up in our relationships, and especially how we make decisions.
Absolutely. It definitely affects how we make decisions because you could be caught in the web of your perceptual filter. I like to call it perceptual filter, right? We have a perceptual filter based on our life curriculum, our spiritual curriculum that we took embodiment to heal, learn, and grow through. And it can be like a landscape of, a web of belief structures and systems that are imprinted from, you know, it's all about what happened to us in our childhood, really.
Yes.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to come from an abuse scenario like I did, but you can have a very easygoing childhood, but there still could be specific pieces of curriculum that were imprinted in your life during that system that set your life up for your spiritual learning. So it really supports everyone's curriculum, but it's really important that you pay attention to your perceptual filter and really start to do that inner work to like cleanse the lens of your own perception, because it impacts your choice making. It impacts how you show up in the moment when you're triggered or when someone else is triggered and what you're making it mean, because it usually will have a connection point back in time. You follow the thread back in time and it's like, oh my gosh, this is my hurt 8-year-old, or oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is my hurt 4-year-old or my hurt 3-year-old running the show in this adult moment. And that is where it colors the situation, and things can go sideways and you're like, oh no, I didn't mean to say it that way, I'm so sorry you took it that way. It's like we've all had these moments where we've just been being ourselves and we trigger somebody just by being ourselves, and we're like so confused by it, but it's actually not about us in that moment. They're triggered because it's their material, and when you're triggered, it's yours. And so, yeah, tell us more about what you do in these scenarios with decision making, because I feel we're on a juicy topic here that could really support people. So if you want to lead right into like actually your process around decision making that would support everyone, go for it.
Awesome. Okay, so I first want to share, and I would love to hear your response or reaction to this too, Dawn. So having the mindset of everything I've ever done and everything I've experienced is a contribution to who I am today and who I'm in the process of becoming.
I love that.
Yeah. So when you think about that, what comes to mind?
The grand design,
Okay.
God's grand design, that we're
Mm.
I really firmly believe through my spiritual learning and my journey, I firmly believe that the word entelechy is really important to me. It's like, think of the acorn. It comes as a whole acorn. It's blueprinted. It's the entelechy of the acorn. It's going to become the oak tree. It's not
Beautiful.
going to become a fern or another type of tree, a pine tree. It's not going to become anything else other than an oak tree. It's an acorn to an oak. There is no other, right? That's its
Mm.
blueprint. Well, we're the same way. We come with a blueprint. We come with an entelechy.
Yeah.
And so our soul does. And our soul is the one that's like navigating the whole huge everything in our life. And time releases the difficult scenarios that we go through and unfold through and grow through based on our life curriculum. So it's taken me years and years and years to fully awaken to this in my consciousness, but
Yes.
I've been calling in, since I was 18. I started having a prayer of like knowing my purpose.
Mm.
So, I'm 49. It took me many, many years to fully step in and embody and have to heal the deep, 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 dark, shadowy, terrible things that I didn't want to face because it was really hard. But it's in that healing of that stuff that gave me a deeper connection to my purpose and an awareness of like, I'm no longer needing to have that prayer of knowing my purpose. Now I'm living my purpose, and there's coming back around to the entelechy of like, it's alive and through me and awakened in me.
Absolutely. Well, and when you talk about, I love that metaphor of an acorn to becoming an oak tree and its internal coating, right? Well, in the journey of becoming that beautiful, strong, grounded oak tree, does the acorn or the tree judge itself in its journey to get there? No, it doesn't, right? So, was that acorn kicked around, or did it go through treacherous weather or anything like that from an external environment? Possibly, yeah. Same
Yeah.
the way that we do, right? As human beings, as we go through this journey. So, I love that. I'm learning from you right now. I absolutely love this. Yeah.
Thank
So, when you think of uh, the journey of life. I wish I could do it through the virtual screen, but sometimes I'll tell people grab a pen and paper and draw a straight line on a piece of paper going up with an arrow. And once they do that, I'll say, this is how people think life is. And people think that life is like going straight from that acorn to a peaceful journey to that, growing to that. Exactly. So then I have them draw that on their piece of paper with all these forks in the road at different stages. And that is how really life is, with all these twists and turns. And then here's something else to offer in this, is that when people think about mistakes, which could also look like a regret, mistakes, really listen to this, mistakes are only made in retrospect. So when I say that, what do you think about?
Well, this was definitely some of my deepest learning in my journey. As a child abuse survivor, I took it so personal.
Yep.
And that was really, really freaking hard. And this is where I really help my clients, is I help them untangle from really deep intergenerational trauma and things like that. And so um, that rejection piece was so strong inside my consciousness that I had to peel back that lens of perception about myself and see I was rejecting my own light. And then
Yeah.
it shattered the whole thing in my consciousness, and actually shattered that whole good light against dark concept, and actually helped me see stronger multidimensionally that we're it's like getting out beyond the dualistic thinking altogether. And back to your question, it really helped me anchor a new way of being and help me see that you know I am love's consciousness, and that there is no failure.
Yes.
Did not
Yeah.
fail. I did not fail myself. I did not, even though it took me a lot longer to kind of come out of the shadows and own my gifts, because there was so much shame to heal. There was so much shame preventing me from actually owning my light.
Yeah.
So I had to really learn to see through new eyes towards my own curriculum, and see through new ways of being, and actually reclaim those parts of me, and actually rewrite that story inwardly of like, this is what I took embodiment to learn and grow through, and it's not wrong or bad. And it helped me accept my story, my journey. It helped me accept my
Mm.
relationship with my father. It helped me accept our family unit, because like for the longest time in my life, I was confused, like really deeply confused. How come my family unit looked this way and others look so loving? And it was really, really deeply confusing. It's like I believed like love was like almost on the outside of myself, like it wasn't for me. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes,
Or
because it's the I'm not lovable,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
enough, I'm rejected, I'm broken, all that story, right? I had all the pieces. And so I had to one by one deeply uncover through the trauma, and through the each thing that happened. I had to uncover and really work with my nervous system, really work with my body, really work with reprogramming my consciousness and cleansing the lens of perception, and so much healing. Like, I mean, so much healing. And yeah, and that taught me like I don't see life through the lens of failure any longer. Yes, it may take me a while to learn and grow through things, but I'm willing to see that it's a growth. It's a growth process, and it's happening for me and not to me.
Yes, I love that. That's, I learned that years ago too, of the transforming that thought process of like, this is happening instead of it's happening to me, it's happening for me. It's such a subtle tweak, but it's so powerful. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I did have a good upbringing in some respects. In other respects, it was challenging as a middle child and an introvert, and being a really skinny kid who developed later on versus earlier compared to other girls, and other things, right? That being said, I also experienced something when I was in college, a freshman, you can imagine. And I had to do some healing around that many years later. I thought I had dealt with it, and I hadn't. And so when something came up, I thought, you know what, it's time. And that was a really dark process. And in that process, I had to forgive myself, for allowing it, for being in that moment, and then also forgive the people that were involved in it. And that was hard too. And it's such a part of our journey. And when we think about, I'm so sorry about the dinging, if you can hear it, I hope not. I'm getting all these texts, but I shut my phone off. But anyway, so it's when we think about failures or mistakes in retrospect, we only call it a mistake or a failure later.
Yeah.
When we go to take the action, or we make the decision, we're not making it saying, oh, this is going to be the worst decision of my life, and I'm going to do it anyway. No, we don't really do that. I'm doing the best that I can with the tools and resources that I have in any given moment.
And the knowledge I have at that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you don't have all the information, and you find that out later.
Yep.
Through the choice making. Like,
yeah.
It's not wrong or bad.
Well, and then what happens is, if we have experienced some kind of abuse, right? And that comes in different forms. Well, there's also self-abuse. And so when we maintain those thought processes of, oh, mistakes, failures, I should have known better, beating ourselves up, that is actually a form of self-abuse. And so in essence, we're perpetuating, what it was that we experienced before, when we can actually free ourselves from that by shifting the way that we look at things and perspective.
What you're bringing forward is such gold. Like, this is absolutely the way we heal, is shifting our perspective, because the ego can be so strong in consciousness and want to protect. That's its whole job, is it thinks it's alone on this island, and it
protects us,
and it wants to protect us, but it will bring forward a barrier in consciousness. And it's actually a barrier. If you get this, it's a barrier between you and God. And really, it's our job as the awakened soul that we are, to acknowledge when the ego is in our consciousness. And it's not wrong or bad. Everybody has one for a reason, because it helps us give, it helps us serve, it helps us be a human. And it's not wrong or bad, but it's learning to train it to listen to the higher self, listen to the heart, be in the heart, be open. And it's deep spiritual journey, training it, and we're all in Earth School doing it. We're all we're here humaning together in Earth School training for this purpose and reason. And so, it's reminding ourselves that we can soften.
Yes. And so when we bring this all back to decision making, right? And in the practical world, when it comes to, really it could have to do with anything, like we talked about earlier. But when we think about it in the realm of career or work or business, right, that sort of thing, what I've observed that happens a lot with people, because of all of those past experiences, whether we've done some healing around it or not. And then all that is going back to brain science, right? It's a recall. It's an autopilot recall, and we mostly function from our subconscious rather than our conscious brain.
Absolutely.
Right. So, what happens a lot is people will talk themselves out of doing something before they even get started, because they're looking too far ahead. Yeah. Now, it's not bad to look far ahead, where it's productive is when you can do that in a more strategic way and really think about, okay, one of the ways that I sometimes get people to just take a moment and get present, forget about all that past stuff, forget about all the looking too far ahead, is what's just the very next step.
Beautiful.
Just the very next step. What does that look like? And what's doable, what feels realistic to you. And then we'll talk about that. And then it's like, okay, what's just the very next step after that once you take that, right? And then before you know it, we're coming up with a plan. And sometimes I do like to walk clients backwards, starting with the end in mind. Like, where do you want to end up? By when? What does that look like? And then let's work backwards in that strategic plan from a logical place, as well as the heart-centered, aligned place. So you're aligned to it throughout the journey as you execute on it. Now, people can still be afraid to take that first step. So now, looking through it through that lens, we're breaking through the obstacle that sometimes people create for themselves when they get stuck in the question of how. Well, how do I do this? Right? So it's if you removed that step, this might seem counterintuitive, but if you removed the step of trying to figure out the how, and you just take the first step, you'll actually achieve it faster. So stop worrying about figuring out the how, because unnecessarily you're creating that as your own obstacle for you to not even take that first step. So this is where I want to share the 4 potential outcomes of any decision and then action that we take. And for years, I've been saying, challenge me and tell me that there's another potential outcome, because I am absolutely open that there might be more. But so far, these seem to be the 4 that can happen from any decision that we make. And by knowing this, then we start removing our need to, if something doesn't work out the way that we wanted or we hoped, to call it a failure, to call it a mistake, to beat ourselves up about doing it. Because again, we're making decisions in the moment with the tools that we have and the resources that we have in the best way possible in that moment. So here's the 4 outcomes. One is, yes, this is it. So once you make the decision and you take action on it, the outcome might be, yep, this is it. Okay. The next is, you make the decision to pursue something, you take action on it, and then you realize once you do, oh, nope, this isn't it. This is not for me. That's also, right, choice. Now, the third one you might discover is you make the decision, you pursue it, but it doesn't become the direction that you're going to take. That's one of those forks in the road, because someone or something else removed it or pushed it out of the way. And I do have a very easy example for this. The fourth one is, you make the decision to take action on it, you start to move ahead, but what ends up happening is you end up being guided in a different direction. But had you not stepped forward by taking that next action, you would have never been able to be guided to where you're going to be going. So the easiest way to understand this is someone who is looking for a job and they're interviewing. So the first one is they found this role, they submitted their application, they got called in for the interview, and they go through the process and it works out, and they're like, yep, this is exactly what I wanted, and I'm so happy I'm here, and you got the offer. The second one of, no, this is not it, right? You applied, you went to the interviews, and in that interview process, somewhere along the way, you realized, no, this is not the right role for me, or this is not the right company for me, or this is not the person that I want to work with or for. And so you remove yourself as a candidate. The third one is, you pursue that job, you get to that last interview, you're up against somebody else, and then they end up giving the offer to the other person. right? So now you're okay. Well, I thought that was it, but it's not. Well, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If this is not happening to you, this is happening for you,
Mhm.
right? Because there's going to be another job that's even better out there. When I got my job at Cisco, it took me a year to get that job. So talk about, and I was networking like crazy. I was changing my resume. I can't tell you how many times. And I think I actually counted, I met 100 new people in that year to network to get to that job.
Wow.
And yes. And when I got there, it was, oh my gosh, it was wonderful. Now
Good
the fourth one,
tenacity. That takes major tenacity. Good job.
well, it's the tenacity. Actually, if somebody, it's funny, speaking of interview questions, that was when somebody asked me what a strength was of mine, and it still is, it's tenacity.
Nice. I acknowledge it because that, I mean, gosh, 100 people. But that's such a beautiful thing you're sharing because think about how, like, for our viewers out there, how many times have you needed to apply that level of tenacity and resilience to get to where you're going? Like, we all have these periods of time where things like that, something comes in, and it doesn't have to be a job, but it could be something else. But we have to have this long stretch of like really pouring into ourselves and being tenacious and not giving up. And just, no, even though the breadcrumbs haven't be really fully presented themselves yet, you're still in the knowing, like truly operating from that divine faith, and knowing
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm willing to keep going, just keep going, just keep going,
Yeah, I knew what I wanted, right? And so, sometimes I wasn't chosen to move on in the process. They were choosing other candidates, and sometimes I was interviewing, and it was that no, this isn't the right fit for me. And even though I really wanted and at the time needed a job, I knew in my heart that no, pursuing this or stepping into this role would not be a good fit for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, or them, you know. So the fourth one, how that translates is you go and you're interviewing for a role. And what ends up happening is the person you're interviewing with says, you know what? Now that I've gotten to know you and learned about your experience and what you're looking for, really, this isn't the right role for you. But there's another role in another department or in the same organization that I'd love to refer you to. Are you open to interviewing for that? Right? But see, had you not shown up and stepped into and said yes to or explored, I like to call it an exploration. That's really important. Referring things to as an exploration because it takes obligation and that thinking too far ahead and therefore I won't even take the first step.
Right.
If you look at it as an exploration, just you're never and if you also look at it as you are not obligated, you're
Mhm.
not. You could pursue it till the very end and you're not obligated. But
Beautiful.
had you not pursued it, you may have never even been guided towards that next other role that this person told you about. And what if that's it? You just never know. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So here's the questions now as you are pursuing and exploring and going after those things that seem to feel in alignment. And this is where I'm going with this. So to check in with yourself, staying in the place of curiosity and exploration. There's three questions, but the two are first ones are important. The first one is what I'm about to do in alignment with what I want to achieve going forward? And
Beautiful.
the second one is what I'm about to do in alignment with the person I want to become going forward? Now, if the answer is yes, I say go for it, regardless of self doubt or fears. And I'm going to speak to fear also. But this is where the third question, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is if yes to both questions, what is just the very first step? So I know I'm breaking it down in a kind of a simplistic way, but sometimes by doing this, it removes all that noise and fear, self-doubt, like what ifs, how coming up that prevents people from even taking that first step.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes I find that the how is really God's job and we just can't focus there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's the miracle that comes our way.
Yeah.
The Spirit will line it up for you, and really what's meant for us will always come our way.
And I'm sure you've heard this too. It's not always what we want, but it's what we need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to support yourself and staying in that exploration place and, uh, thinking about it from the mindset that I've shared and knowing that, really those are the outcomes that will happen. So no matter the outcome, you're going to grow. You're going to grow as a person. You're going to expand as a human being. So you might meet who you needed to meet. You might learn what you needed to learn. You might get the information that you needed to move forward, and you might get experience that will prepare you for what's next.
Beautiful. I
Yeah.
really love the question of, is this in alignment with the person I'm becoming? Like that's great.
See, and that ties back to how I started, which is everything I've ever done and everything I've ever experienced is a contribution to who I am today and who I'm in the process of becoming.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's, I just wanted to share that because those are some of things that have come up in some of my coaching sessions a lot with clients. And I pose those questions and I get them to think about, how if they were to approach that way with that mindset, that perception, asking those questions, really checking in with yourself, heart and head, how would that impact what you do and how you show up going forward?
Absolutely, because it's helping you stay in alignment with your real why, like
Yeah.
this in
Yeah.
alignment with my why.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
yeah. Well, and I also wanted to share today, I know it's a lot, being that I am a HeartMath certified facilitator, there are some really wonderful tools that people can use. And one that relates to decision making is called the freeze frame technique.
Nice. Let's do
So I
it.
wanted to, okay, great. So I wanted to just talk about that for a moment too. So, and this is really about that accessing our heart's intuition, our heart's intelligence, and how we can just use that applicable to our day to day versus letting things run from our head. So this kind of tool can be, this particular tool can be done anywhere with your eyes open on the go. Remember, this is a practice. And, sometimes also we can't always say, oh, I need 20 minutes to go stop and think about this. So, doing a tool like this can really help us drop into our heart's intelligence and quickly access that. And it takes practice. So, I once heard that the heart knows no boundaries. So it goes beyond technology. And, it's about the energetic container of all of this and that psychological safety that we can create for ourselves as well as others. But we are literally creating our field environment for ourselves and others in any given moment. We can have an impact on that. So when we talk about using a tool like this, going back to what it means to be coherent, and when we're in a coherent state, this is where we can maintain inner composure, be emotionally balanced, regulate our emotions, and ultimately make better choices. So, right, so making better decisions. So, couple tips about this tool before I actually walk through the steps. So, while you're doing it, don't edit yourself. So, just let whatever comes come, even if it might not make sense quite yet. And it can come quickly. You never know. It can come slow. You might have to do this a few times. Be patient with it. It's a practice, and you might get information quickly. It's also when you're doing this, it's important to write down any feelings or attitudes in the end, uh, and that can help in the process later on. So I'm gonna let me pull up the tool. Okay, so the freeze frame helps you shift your physiology. into a coherent state so that you can access your heart's intuition. And the intent really is to support yourself in getting some out of the box solutions, which again can be important when it comes to decisions. Okay, so step one, we're not going to do it yet, but these are just the steps. So step one is acknowledge the problem or issue and any attitudes or feelings about it. So if something comes to mind already, grab your pen and write it down. Step two is heart-focused breathing. And this is really the foundation of most of HeartMath's tools. And I'll talk you through it right now, and then later we'll actually do it and give ourselves some breathing room to do it. So focus your attention in the area of the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. And then step three is make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. Now, if that is hard for you, depending on what kind of day we're having or what you're going through in the moment or some things that come up, another suggestion is to just try to re-experience the feeling you have for someone that you love, a pet, a special place, an accomplishment, or focus on a feeling of calm or ease. And that can help too. Step four is from this more objective place, ask yourself, what would be a more efficient or effective attitude, action, or solution? And then step five is quietly observe any subtle changes in perceptions, attitudes, or feelings. Commit to sustaining beneficial attitude shifts and acting on new insights. Now, what are the applications for this? There could be many. I'll just share a few. This could be helpful when making decisions or planning, like we've been talking about. It can be helpful when enhancing creativity. You can also use it to gain insight on how to handle a situation, as well as while working with clients or colleagues at work. So again, the quick steps are acknowledge what the issue or challenge is, what the new feelings are, do the heart-focused breathing. The third is activate a positive or renewing feeling. 4 is ask for those insights to come. And then 5 is observe and act. A little bit more about this. This is why this tool is really powerful. So this can be used in the moment for gaining clarity and stopping energy drains, right? So sometimes if you feel like you're depleting, this can be helpful too. It can also balance your mind and your emotions, like we've been talking about, so you can think more creatively and make better choices. You can also get more clear and balanced perspective by accessing your intuitive intelligence. So the freeze frame is like pressing a pause button and stopping a video. It stops your stress movie. So if something's challenging or stressful in the moment, so that you can edit the frame and create a different outcome. Okay, so now there might be some complexity to what it is that you're working on. What can contribute to that is past history or intensity of emotions. So just be patient with yourself and give yourself permission to repeat the process. And it can feel more natural as you practice it more and more. And often solutions are inspired through communication or input from others. So don't feel like you have to go through this alone. And you can either talk to a coach, talk to a good friend that you trust, or someone that can really offer an objective ear. And also notice any subtle shifts in the way that you feel, especially if you're feeling any anxiousness about an issue, to supporting yourself and feeling more calm. Now, going from anxiousness to calm is pretty significant. So that's a good sign, okay? Okay, so step 1, this is where we're gonna actually do it together. So acknowledge the problem or issue and any attitudes or feelings about it. So go ahead and write down what comes to your heart. And Dawn, if you want to do this too. I invite you to do it as well. And I'll give you a moment. And I can hear Dawn writing. So when she's done writing, I'll move to step 2. I love it.
Go ahead.
Okay. So step 2. Okay. Focus your attention in the area of the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. And we'll do this for about 30 seconds. And as you continue heart-focused breathing, make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. And from this more objective place, ask yourself, what would be a more efficient or effective attitude, action, or solution? And then quietly observe any subtle changes in perceptions, attitudes, or feelings. Commit to sustaining beneficial attitude shifts and acting on new insights. So go ahead and write down the first thing that comes to you. And that's the process, the technique.
Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Good. I agree. Yeah. So what came up for you? I'm curious. Anything you want to share?
I really love the part around like it's kind of like acknowledging your feelings, but then move into a place of where can you have gratitude for like pick someone or something to have appreciation for, and it gets you into that higher octave of like loving, because when you can't be in fear and appreciation at the same time, or
Right.
right,
Yeah.
so it immediately helps you apply appreciation to a difficult scenario, and then move it because there's appreciation present, gratitude present, then you can actually move into a place inside yourself to like find a new solution or a new avenue that you maybe didn't see.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of it is really removing any emotional, energetic thought process obstacles, as well as coming from here versus just thinking at it, from a logical point of view.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful for our viewers. That was really helpful for me. I just had such appreciation for my partner, and yeah, just like the last part was really more about like just me being supportive, allowing myself to be supportive, allowing myself to be supported.
Ah, that's big. Yeah. 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 I love it. I've used this. I used it to get in alignment with the decision to leave my last job.
Wow.
Yeah, that was big. And to go back out on actually my last 2 jobs, because I took another part-time role after I quit my full-time role. And I learned a lot from that experience as well. And then to make the decision to go back out on my own. So, yeah. And I'll share with the audience what I shared with you before we went live is I shared with Dawn that coming on this show, the timing of this showing up was perfect and divine. And it's by coming on here, it is an act of self-love for myself, because although I've been coaching for a long time, yep, and I did this many moons ago because I've been coaching for 18 years. At some point, I stopped, and I've been hidden all these years, and I've made a decision to stop hiding, and to come out of the closet, I guess you could say, in that way of allowing myself to be seen and heard, and how I can not only heal that part of myself to be seen and heard, but also so that I can connect more with those out there so that they can find me, because this is the world that we live in, right? Like I had to get over myself. The introvert in me is like, no, don't go on video, don't do recordings or this and that, and then I said yes to creating some of my own podcasts, which, funny thing, being on this show with you today, which is my first guest appearance in many years, I'm also launching one of my podcasts today as well. So today is a pretty significant day.
Awesome. I did put all the links for your beautiful work in the chat, so it's gone out on pages. So if you're interested in finding Alanna's work, please just go to. She has many offers here, so they're all there. Plus her new podcast is also in the chat, so you can go check it out. There's lots of links, so please do go check it out. It's really exciting, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. And cheers to letting yourself be seen fully and in your beautiful work, because you're ripe and ready for it. You're very experienced. You know what you're doing. You bring great value. So of course it's time to be fully seen, like in your authenticity. And I celebrate this step. It's huge.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Gosh, it's so exciting. Yeah. And I really want to say thank you for being on the show, and thank you for your beautiful story and your mindset and your approach to like supporting people to navigate decisions, right? I mean, because adulthood can be full of really difficult decisions. And so I think that this is such a valuable skill to incorporate into the work world and into all parts of life. And I really value what you bring to the table. And thank you for your heartfelt sincerity and generosity here with us. And I just really appreciate you so much.
Well, thanks for creating this space, and I love that you guys are doing this. So, yeah.
Oh, us too. It's a joy, and we're really grateful. We meet so many beautiful souls through this experience, and yeah, like I said in the beginning, self-love comes in all shapes and sizes, and that's why it's so important to have a variety of people on the show, because it's that one thing somebody needs to heal and grow through whatever they're going through. It's not all one size, one subject fits everybody. It's like there's a million different perspectives on the planet. Think about it, 8 billion people, and we have a wide variety of things that need to be covered. So yeah. So I really, again, appreciate your work. I appreciate your skill set, your expertise, and your beautiful delivery. Like, you did a great job today, and I'm super excited for your expansion and your work, which is really great. And your podcast. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I also want to say a big shout out and thank you to, all the supporters of the Self-Love Show. Thank you so much for just being present weekly with us. It's been a labor of love. We love doing this. Trisha and I do. And if you have any shows out there that really call to you, reach out, email us, find us on Facebook, send us a message. If you're like, hey, I'm a burning desire for this type of show, we're so open to that feedback. And we have a lot of new things in the works. We're kind of reinventing ourselves a little bit always, right? We always reinventing ourselves, but Trish and I are in the works of making some new things, and you'll be hearing about that soon. And we just want to thank, Scott Katamas and Love Coach Academy, Global Peace Tribe, and especially our beautiful VAs that support the Self-Love Show. Thank you so much for being in the background and helping produce. You really helped Trish and I so much, and we're so, so thankful and grateful for you and everyone that is a part of the Self-Love Show. We're so grateful. Thank you so much. And thank you to the YouTube channel and all the previous shows and all our previous guests. It is, like I said, a labor of love, and we're so, so thankful to have this experience and opportunity. And we hope you have an amazing week. And thank you again, Alanna, for being on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just hope everyone has an amazing week, and we'll see you back same time, same channel next week.
Awesome.
Bye. Stay on for a sec.
Okay.